Welcome to the best of first-person episodes from Phantoms and Monsters. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads.
Screaming mimic humanoid terrifies young witness. I haven't told anyone besides some family members this. This happened when I was about 13 or so. It was summertime and I was on vacation with my parents. We had hit the road and driven quite a ways to visit my older sister, who lived across the country in British Columbia about 20 kilometers outside of Victoria. After spending time together and sharing supper, we decided to call it a night. My parents slept in my sister's bedroom, and she slept in the neighboring room with her small son. It's important to note a few things at this point. My mother is a round, short woman with very delicate feminine features. She has round glasses, and that night went to bed in a long blue nightgown. My sister, on the other hand, is very tall and athletically built, taking after my dad in regards to her facial features. She too has glasses, but unlike my mother, hers were square-shaped. She went to bed in a shorter, orange and striped nightgown. These small but substantial differences are key. Now, since all of the bedrooms were full, I was given a blanket and pillow to sleep on the couch with. Of course, like any kid, I watched TV for a few hours, well into the night. At around 4 a.m. it dawned on me that we had plans for the next day, so I should try and get some rest. After tossing and turning for about an hour or so, I gave up and just laid on my back staring at the stars visible from the nearby window. As the natural light flooded the room from the sun rising, I flipped through some photo albums. I did this for a while, not having slept at all the entire night. At this point I was pretty bored and lonely, hoping someone would wake up soon and talk to me. Around 8 a.m., I heard a door slowly open and someone came out into the hallway. At my sister's house, the living room is sunken in, and a small staircase of maybe 3 steps leads to the raised kitchen and dining room. The hallway is also in this raised area and connects to the bathroom and bedrooms. In the living room there is a doorless archway that leads down to the basement and laundry room. This means that I could look up and see what was going on in the dining area from the couch. This person hummed a little and then was caught off guard by a table in the dining room, full of framed pictures of family my sister had on display. I don't know how to describe the way they looked at the photos, besides saying they were bewildered by them. Maybe even enchanted, letting out an occasional "oh" and "ah." I could tell it was a woman, but I wasn't sure if it was my mother or sister. This was strange because, like I said, they looked alike but were also very distinguishable. I also felt this weird feeling because everyone in my family has seen these photos many times, and I'd even say may own a few copies of their own of those exact same photos, so why act so amazed by them? I said, "Hey, Ma, what are you doing?" in a nervous yet warm voice. No response. Okay then, it was my sister. "Hey, good morning. What are you making your dear sibling for breakfast?" No response. Huh. I knew I was definitely loud enough, they had heard me for sure. That uneasy feeling in my stomach grew stronger now, and I had no idea why. The likeness of my sister and mother was there, so it wasn't like a stranger or something. Then I noticed something very off. They were wearing a knee-length, blue and orange striped nightgown. Their height wasn't short, but it wasn't tall either, it was average. They had a muscular build, but could not be called skinny either. The hair was the same color as both my sister and mother's, and so was the skin color. My heart skipped and I thought, who the hell is this? Maybe someone stayed overnight? But how could they have? I had laid right beside the front door all night. When they turned around and went to inspect another photograph on a wall near that staircase, their face made my heart sink. It was a hybrid of my mother and sister's most discernible features, with glasses that were round on the bottom but squared on the top. Their eyes were not my mother's or my sister's. They were very white and unnerving and darted all around the walls very quickly. Very excitedly. It was as if my mother and sister had been Frankenstein-ed together into one person. My knee-jerk reaction after seeing the face was to scooch my legs in and pretend I was sleeping. I could feel the veins in my neck beating very hard, and my breathing became very loud and labored. Whoever the hell it was, came down the stairs and looked around the living room with that same excitement. I don't know how to explain how scared I was as it came closer to me. I thought maybe if I stayed quiet it would pass by me. I was also scratching and pinching myself now, in case I was asleep without realizing it. The pain was very real, I was awake. The thing I watched with my eyes squinted took up an interest in a photo album I had left on the table, very close to me. Then, probably the worst thing that could have happened. My sister's portable home phone rang. My sister had answered a call last night and had put the phone on the couch frame between the wall and its cushions. The thing's face became very alarmed, and it turned in my direction and saw me and became very, very angry. I opened my eyes and looked at it in its face and just stared back, with my entire body trembling. Its eyes were pure black, total darkness, like two huge pupils staring right at me and furious. It opened its mouth unnaturally wide and screamed no. Then it turned and darted down the stairs to the basement where I heard a door slam shut, and it kept yelling no 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 no. I stared at the archway for a long time, still shaking and digging my nails into my arm, begging to wake up because I was so afraid it would come back, wishing I was just dreaming. I literally could not move because I was too scared to get up in case it came back or was waiting at the arch, and I could not speak for the reason. My brain abandoned me. An hour must have passed like that. I did not move. It had stopped yelling, and this was for some reason even scarier than when it had been yelling, because at least then I was sure it was downstairs and not slowly climbing back up the stairs to fill me alive. I then wondered why no one in the family was awakened by the screams. Then I heard a door open again from the hallway upstairs and stared at it, full of adrenaline at this point. It was my mom, exactly herself and in the right nightgown. She was humming as she put on coffee and started making toast. Another door opened, my sister this time. The same as she had looked before heading off to bed. She and my mom talked for a bit and I just stared at them. My sister eventually saw me staring at her over the banister and yelled, "Ha ha, what the hell? Why are you just staring at me? Why didn't you say something?" I replied back in a very shaky voice I did, twice. They looked at each other as if to say huh? I told my mom I hadn't slept yet, and she said that was a big mistake, etc. I ate breakfast with them and then realized eventually I was awake and had really not slept at any point that night. I decided against my judgment to tell them what had just happened, in case it came upstairs to hurt them. They pretty much laughed at me and told me I had just fallen asleep and imagined it. They basically told me I was nuts. My sister told me to go sleep with my nephew and asked me to try and fix the screen in her room, as it had somehow fallen out of the window onto the floor in the night. On my way to her room, I walked by that table in the dining room and noticed all of the frames were moved and in different places than last night. I pointed this out very excitedly like "CC?" And my sister just shrugged it off and said her son liked looking at them. I kept pressing the issue, so my sister, much to my hysterical protest, went to the basement in every room, just to make me shut up about it. She didn't see anything unusual. I laid in the bed and did not sleep a wink. I still think about it from time to time, and did not ever sleep on that couch again, opting instead to sleep in the floor of the room my parents were in and locking the door. I have been questioning reality since. CC.
Shapeshifting entity in Northeast Pennsylvania. My grandparents have a cabin in a town in Pennsylvania, south of Scranton. Every summer we usually go up for a few weeks as a family event, ever since I was little. A few years ago we decided to go up in the winter because my family wanted to go skiing at some point. After we got there, the weird things started happening really quickly and seemingly out of nowhere. The house was built in the 1920s, old brick and wood home. The doors are these giant, almost church-looking doors, and the style of the home is very medieval, definitely adding to the creepy vibes of the home. The first night was seemingly calm through the house, but whenever I went there I always felt there was something there, or something lurking through the halls. The first night I got up to go to the bathroom at around 3:10 a.m., which is also interesting because I never get up to go to the bathroom back at home. Most nights I sleep right through without waking up. There were 8 of us in the house, my 2 parents, my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and my 2 male cousins. I went to one of the 3 main bathrooms, 4 in the house if you count the master. So when I heard someone in there I thought that was interesting, because I was one of the few people who doesn't share the bathroom. But I stood outside waiting to make sure I did not intrude on anything going on in there, as my one cousin has IBS, and I didn't want to bother him. What was extremely weird is the fact that whatever was in there didn't sound human in its movements. It seemed to drag its feet around, which made me nervous that he may be sick. I called out his name a few times. "Drew, are you okay in there? It's been a long time and I want to go to bed." Or something along those lines. A few seconds later he comes out of his bedroom and tells me why I'm making so much noise, and he's trying to sleep, and slams his door behind him. Before I could freak out he had already shut the door, and I was too scared to even yell back to him. I never realized before that the door wasn't even locked in the first place, which made me feel even more uneasy. Between the banter I never realized the sound stopped, and it seemed like nobody was even in the bathroom anymore. I still even tell myself this was just my imagination going wild, but I'm not known for sleepwalking or having any type of sleep disorder. I decided to just open the door, brushing it off as my too vivid imagination. When I opened the door it really looked like nothing strange had happened in there. But when I was washing my hands I realized the window was open, and I froze thinking someone had broken into the house. But this was on the 2nd story, with nothing to climb up on, making it almost impossible to climb up there. The next day nothing happened in the daytime, making it seem more to me that it was just a figment of my imagination than reality. But that night I had to let my dog out. She is elderly and never really barks much. Nor does she run fast, so this definitely is a case for concern, I thought. When I let her out, she bolted to the edge of the woods and vanished inside them. I tried to follow her barking, but honestly I was too scared to go into the woods past the tree line. When I finally got her to walk back, her back leg seemed off, almost like a person pretending to be a dog walking on the ground. Her eyes were also off, they looked human-like, not her usual dark almond eyes. I freaked out and ran back inside without her. When I got inside she was sitting panting by the door, so she must have ran back in when I was yelling into the woods to try to find her. At this point I didn't even want to leave that house, for fear of what was lurking in the woods. The last night we stayed there was the most interesting and confusing turn of events that had happened. We all had skied all day, so we went to bed quite early, around 9 to 10. I never fall asleep early, as I am usually a night owl. But I woke up around 12 a.m. to sounds of my cousin Drew yelling outside. I woke up in a fog and tried to quickly rush to the door and open it. I didn't even take into consideration that the door was still locked from the inside. When I got outside, his voice seemed to be coming from multiple directions and echoing through the valley. I saw him by the cars yelling, and when I started to go outside and call out his name, he looked at me quickly. His eyes got huge and he ran into the woods, with a beckoning gesture for me to follow. I decided that was definitely a bad idea, so I woke up his parents, and he ended up being asleep in his room the whole time. I still have no idea what was out there that weekend, and I haven't been back since. CR.
This is Lon Strickler. If you like this program, it would help us if you would give it a thumbs up. Then subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notification when we upload new first-person encounters. We have many more to come very soon. And by the way, if you have a suggestion or an experience of your own, please leave a comment.